The courtroom was already packed long before the hearing officially began. Whispers bounced off the marble walls as reporters adjusted cameras, legal assistants shuffled papers, and spectators leaned forward, desperate to witness what many were already calling the most controversial hearing of the year. At the center of it all sat City Mayor Daniel Cross, a man known for his power, influence, and untouchable reputation. For nearly 12 years, Cross had ruled the city like his personal empire. He appeared at ribbon-cutting ceremonies with a polished smile, shook hands with business leaders, and gave speeches about justice, transparency, and progress. But behind closed doors, rumors told a different story. Whispers of bribery, illegal contracts, missing city funds, and favors exchanged in dark corners where cameras couldn't reach. Still, no one had ever managed to prove anything. Until now. The courtroom doors opened. Judge Fleischer entered. Her black robe moved sharply as she walked with calm authority toward the bench. No unnecessary expression, no wasted movement, just precision. The room instantly stood, even Mayor Cross. Though unlike everyone else, he rose with visible annoyance. He adjusted his designer suit jacket and exchanged a smirk with his attorney, Richard Hale. A smirk that suggested this hearing was merely a formality, another inconvenience he intended to crush. "Be seated," Judge Fleischer said. Her voice was firm, controlled, and impossible to ignore. Everyone sat. The hearing began. Case 4117B, the clerk announced. Investigation into misuse of municipal funds, abuse of office, and obstruction of justice involving Mayor Daniel Cross. A wave of murmurs spread through the audience. Cross leaned back in his chair, visibly unimpressed. The prosecutor, Assistant District Attorney Laura Bennett, rose from her seat. "Your Honor," she began, "today we will present evidence that Mayor Daniel Cross knowingly approved fraudulent infrastructure contracts totaling over $18 million, redirecting taxpayer funds to shell companies connected to his associates." Gasps. Cross rolled his eyes dramatically. Judge Fleischer noticed. "Mayor Cross," she said without looking up from the file, "you will maintain proper courtroom conduct." Cross leaned forward. "With all due respect, Your Honor," he said loudly, "this entire proceeding is political theater." The room froze. No one interrupted Judge Fleischer like that, not unless they enjoyed consequences. But Cross continued. "This city runs because of decisions I make. While everyone here plays courtroom games, I'm responsible for real leadership." A few nervous laughs escaped from people seated in the back. Judge Fleischer slowly lifted her eyes. The silence that followed felt heavy enough to crack stone. "Mr. Cross," she said calmly, "this courtroom is not governed by your office." Cross smirked. "No," he replied, "but let's not pretend politics aren't influencing this." His attorney subtly tugged his sleeve. Too late. Judge Fleischer folded her hands. "You may continue, Ms. Bennett." The prosecutor approached the evidence monitor. A series of contracts appeared on screen. Road maintenance, bridge renovations, emergency public housing repairs. Millions allocated, millions missing. "These contracts," Bennett explained, "were awarded to 3 companies." She clicked again. Silver Ridge Development, Urban Horizon Solutions, Crestline Civic Group. At first glance legitimate, until she displayed ownership records. All 3 companies linked back to a single holding entity. And that entity traced directly to Victor Kane, a longtime donor and personal friend of Mayor Cross. Whispers exploded across the courtroom. Cross's expression tightened for the first time. "This proves nothing," his attorney snapped. Bennett smiled slightly. "You're correct." She clicked again. Bank transfer records appeared. Payments from city accounts. Then transfers into Kane's companies. Then a final series of transfers into offshore accounts. One account holder name highlighted in red. D. Cross. The room erupted. "Order!" the bailiff shouted. Judge Fleischer slammed the gavel. Cross leaned forward aggressively. "This is ridiculous." "Sit down," Judge Fleischer said. He ignored her. "I have served this city longer than half the people in this room have held careers." His voice grew louder. "You think some paperwork and a desperate prosecutor can threaten me?" The prosecutor stepped back. Cross turned toward Judge Fleischer, and then he crossed the line. You have no idea who you're dealing with. A collective inhale filled the courtroom. Even reporters stopped typing. His attorney looked physically ill. Judge Fleischer stared at him. No anger, no emotion, just calculation. Mr. Cross, she said quietly, was that a threat? Cross laughed. It's called reality, Your Honor. That was the moment everything changed. Judge Fleischer leaned forward slightly and asked one question, just one. A simple question delivered so calmly that at first no one understood its power. Mayor Cross, she said, if these transactions are fabricated, why did your office request deletion of financial server backups 3 days before the audit? Silence. Absolute silence. Cross blinked once, twice. The confidence drained from his face like color from old paint. His attorney slowly turned toward him, as if seeing him clearly for the first time. Answer the question, Judge Fleischer said. Cross opened his mouth. Nothing came out. His throat visibly tightened. The prosecutor didn't move. She didn't need to. Judge Fleischer had already detonated the entire defense, because only someone aware of those backups would know they had been deleted. And the deletion request came from the mayor's office directly. Signed authorization included. Cross looked toward his attorney. No rescue came. Mr. Cross? Judge Fleischer repeated. His breathing became shallow. The spectators leaned forward. This was no longer a political spectacle. This was collapse. Cross finally spoke. I would need to review that documentation. Weak, unconvincing, dead on arrival. Bennett immediately responded. For the record, Your Honor, Exhibit 29 includes signed digital authorization under the defendant's credentials. The screen changed. There it was. His signature. Timestamp. Authorization code. Deletion request approved. The audience exploded again. One reporter literally stood up to get a better angle. Cross slammed his hands on the desk. This is a setup. Enough, Judge Fleischer said. Her voice cut through the chaos like glass. She turned to the clerk. Enter all exhibits into official record. Then back to Cross. Mayor Daniel Cross, this court has now reviewed sufficient evidence to support immediate escalation of criminal investigation. Cross looked stunned. His attorney whispered urgently, probably discussing damage control. Too late. Judge Fleischer continued. Additionally, due to demonstrated interference with evidence preservation, this court authorizes immediate seizure of all remaining administrative devices and records associated with the mayor's office. Cross stood abruptly. You can't do that. Judge Fleischer raised one eyebrow. Actually, she replied, I just did. The courtroom erupted into audible gasps. Cross's face turned red with fury. You're destroying a public office. No, Mr. Cross, Judge Fleischer said. Your own decisions accomplish that. A devastating line. Cameras clicked rapidly. This was headline gold. Judge Fleischer wasn't finished. She reviewed one final document, then looked directly at him. Pending formal charges, I recommend temporary suspension of executive authority. Cross froze. That meant effective removal from operational control. Not a conviction, but political death was already visible. His entire empire had cracked in under an hour. Because of one question, one perfectly timed question. His attorney leaned close and whispered, Don't say another word. Probably the smartest advice anyone had given him all day. Judge Fleischer stood. This hearing is adjourned pending federal review. Gavel slam. Done. But the real drama began after. As Cross attempted to leave, reporters swarmed. Mayor Cross, did you authorize deletion of evidence? Are you resigning? Did city funds enter your offshore account? No answers, just panic. Security pushed cameras back. Cross disappeared through a side exit like a man fleeing a fire he started himself. Inside the courtroom, spectators remained seated in disbelief. A woman whispered, She ended him with one sentence. Not wrong. Online, clips spread instantly. Judge Fleischer's question went viral within hours. News headlines flooded every platform. Mayor collapses after judge's question. City leader faces criminal review. Political career destroyed live in court. Analysts called it the most devastating courtroom moment of the year, not because of shouting, not because of drama, but because real power isn't loud. And Judge Fleischer understood that better than anyone. She didn't need threats, didn't need speeches, didn't need theatrics, just facts, precision, timing, and one question no guilty man could answer. Days later, federal investigators raided multiple municipal offices. Additional records were seized. 3 staff members resigned. Victor Kane disappeared from public view. And Mayor Daniel Cross officially announced a leave of absence to address personal matters. Nobody believed that statement. Everyone knew what really happened. His career was over, not by scandal alone, not by media pressure, but by underestimating the wrong judge. Because in his mind, everyone could be intimidated, bought, managed, controlled, everyone except Judge Fleischer. And that was his fatal mistake. The final viral clip ended with her words replayed endlessly online. If these transactions are fabricated, why did your office request deletion of financial server backups 3 days before the audit? No music needed, no narration needed, just silence afterward. The kind of silence that sounds like a career ending.